Good morning. How we doing, guys? We've got the S&Ps down 0.15%, NASDAQ up 0.28%, oil trying to get something going. Yesterday, remember, we were down over 6%, oil sitting up 0.88%, gold up about 0.25%, and we've got a lot of stocks here unchanged. SpaceX, actually, believe it or not, sitting down 5.2% right now. Try to make new lows. Low a day currently sitting at 190.50-ish. So it looks like they're going to take out the low here on SpaceX. We'll see if they can. For me, I'm waiting to see if we end up getting a curl. 5% down. What's today? 4th trading day. We just had options launch yesterday. It was one of the most active options dates like ever. The volume was insane. I think we saw, what was it, 500,000 contracts traded in the first hour yesterday on SpaceX? Ridiculous. We saw 1 million by midday. You know, that's a lot. Okay, so back to NQ here. We'll see what's going on. As far as, you know, price action here, we've got basically a single bar sideways range for the last 4, maybe 5 bars. So we've got a minute 12 out till the close up here of big bar 19. Let's see what we get. Let's see what we get. How you guys doing? I gotta tell you, one of my biggest, or I should say what I'm intrigued by right now, is a SpaceX curl. AMD yesterday just kept trending downside. Today here, you know, you take a peek at it, it's trying to recover a bit, sitting at the 520s. Saw a big range yesterday on NVIDIA. Here we go, breaking out lower, making new lows here on NVIDIA. Yeah, low on SpaceX here currently, sitting down 5%. The low is 190.51. Looks like we're probably going to take out that low. Honestly, since we saw this bar here, see this? This looks a lot more like a very soft bear channel to me rather than the bear trend that it was looking like. These are 5-minute bars, by the way, off the rip. So we'll see. Here you go. Trying to take out that low, about a quarter out. It's pretty beautiful bear body. You can see that tape picking up as we head down toward the low. There we go. We'll try to take out the lows just barely. Bulls stepping in to bounce us. To me, that's I'd say a symptom of some bull confidence and a little bit of bear insecurity trying to take out the lows here on SpaceX. So we'll check back in on that stock. I'll be looking to get long if I can get any meaningful curl here on NQ. Again, these are the NASDAQ futures. We know the drill at this point, right? Any reasonable price action setup, I'm going to hit it. By the way, we have the FOMC interest rate decision hitting today, 2 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see what that brings. Now, the general consensus is unchanged. If the Fed does something unexpected, that's when the market goes absolutely insane, loses its mind, volatility. Okay, but again, the expectation here is no change, so we'll see what we get. That's about 3 hours out from now, so we've got plenty of time to hit trades before then. As for me, sure, I like to be flat heading into news releases like that, just in case you do get something unexpected, but I'm not going to be flat for, 90 minutes ahead of the release. To me, that's a little bit extreme. All right, here. 320 out from the close. Big bar 20. Look at this. You got SpaceX making new lows here. That tape is moving quick. Back to the NASDAQ here. So, this, we've effectively got a giant trading range. about 200 points wide. ATR here on NQ, again, these are the NASDAQ futures if you're unaware, 73. That's a pretty big ATR. That's the average range here in points of a 5-minute bar. 73 is substantial. The price action, though, could use some work. In a big trading range like this, see all this overlap? 15, 16, 17, and onward? That's not great for traders. You know, it looks inviting, I will say. In the early days, a lot of traders think this is the best time to trade because it looks safe. And you say, well, I can just buy low, sell high. The problem isn't logic here. The problem is managing your risk. SpaceX here heading down into the high 180s. You know, it makes you wonder. SpaceX here has lost nearly, we're coming on to 25 points since the open. Down 6%. By the way, this here is today's biggest winner as far as stocks, up 185%, ticker ICCM. Curling over, losing volume, likely to continue curling here unless we get a second news headline. Back to NQ here. All right, 30 seconds out from the close up big bar 20. ATR holding up here on the NASDAQ, 70 points, average range of a 5-minute bar here. There's tons of overlap in these bars. We got to get away from this. For me to be interested here, this is ugly. Honestly, I wouldn't mind another bear body here. For me, that would be the early trade, but that would be the first time I'd be looking to, well, I mean, I guess I should say that'd be the closest trade right now. If we can get a nice clean bear body out of bar 21 here. Closing up nice and low. Very little wick to the downside. SpaceX continuing off a cliff here. By the way, SpaceX is the most active stock on the market here today, volume-wise. ICCM, the biggest gainer, in a close second place. We gotta understand the difference is not, it's not even close. ICCM is a $6 stock. SpaceX is a $200 stock doing more share volume, which is not dollar volume, share volume, which is absurd. In case you're wondering, BITO is actually in third place. As for me, I'm waiting for this bear trend over here on SpaceX to subside. And then I will be looking to get long. I can't imagine this thing's going to bear trend down to, 150. day 4 after IPO, that would be pretty bizarre. But I'm not going to step ahead of it. What do you guys think? Is there a price you would get long SpaceX just for buy and hold? Trading's a different story. I don't care what price the stock is as long as the price action is meaningful. But I gotta tell you, I wonder how many people would load up if we hit that original marked price of 135 on SpaceX. We're continuing lower. Now down 7% here, SpaceX is. That is quite the dump off. Oh, baby. Chat says 50 bucks on SpaceX I'd get long. They say no real value above 100 bucks. You guys are some haters, man. I gotta tell you, for investing, SpaceX, the way that I think about this stock, it's worth $2 trillion bucks, right? My issue with it is, if I'm going to take this level of risk, which means I don't want to be that guy, but like what happens, I mean, this is a relatively risky industry, at least in 2026. Obviously, they've figured it out in a big way, but it's going to take some massive innovation in my head to even 4x this stock. Because this isn't a stock that's going to 5, 10x overnight. It's worth too much money. There's too much influx needed to do so, right? So I feel like putting a big chunk as a retail investor of your capital into SpaceX, looking at it as like a speculative play, like this thing's going to triple very soon. First of all, you're asking it to add $4 trillion to its market cap. And in my head, it's like, as a retail investor, this is a lot of institutional money. I think of this as a lot of institutional money, like let's dump a lot here to take care of our clients 50, 100 years from now. Like this is bigger than us, is how I think they're thinking. For retail investors, for people who are looking to be aggressive and take risk, which when you're young especially, I think we should be taking all the educated risk we can. I don't know if SpaceX is the tool for that. Grab a piece, be involved, tremendous. But I see people, you know, who are like, I want to make a lot of money. I don't have a lot right now. SpaceX is my ticket. This thing's going to 25x. It's worth a lot of money, man. I mean, fundamentally, that's a pretty difficult thing to do in a short period of time. It needs a lot of influx. All right. Back to the futures here. NQ. We got 4 minutes out till the close of Big Bar 22. By the way, check out AMD here. Trying to make a move back higher. You know, you take a look at this thing compared to yesterday. It's got a lot of progress to make up that big loss we saw in AMD yesterday. Ended up trending downside all day. AMD and Nvidia, you know, interestingly, a little bit disconnected these last couple of days. SpaceX here trying to put in a low. Take a starter on SpaceX there, and I'm going to risk just that wick low, that last bar. Small size here to start on SpaceX. All right. Back to the futures here, 2 minutes out. Come on, bar 22. Now, the problem is you got a big single bar sideways range here. Size up a little on SpaceX, and then I will add a stop. I'm going to risk the wick low of day. We currently have 187.01. All right, minute 25 out here on NASDAQ futures. I'm watching the wick high. You see that wick high is 16? Kind of pay attention to that. SpaceX bouncing here, putting that position in the money quick. Average 190.14 here on SpaceX. Stop is down at 186.99, which is that wick low, minus a couple of pennies. So I'm going to leave that on. I'm not really looking to scalp that out unless we pop higher quick. Okay, 50 seconds out. You're on the NASDAQ futures 5-minute bar. I'm looking at that SpaceX position more as like a day trade. I wouldn't call it a big old intraday swing, but if it were a scalp, I'd be out already. So I've got on, $3. $3.15 worth of risk, per share, obviously. For me, I'm looking at that a little bit more like a day trade. Again, an intraday swing to me would be like 4 or 5 hour expectation, whereas a scalp, I'd have been out, and I wouldn't have that amount of risk on most likely, at least in this specific scenario. So more of a regular day trade here for me. We'll see how long it takes. I don't have really a baseline expectation. Yeah, NQ futures here, big old wick. You see this? Look at this garbage here on 22. Absolutely nothing to do there on 22. At least not for me. Four minutes, 20 seconds out here till the close up. Big bar 23. About $1.15 in the money here on the SpaceX position. Let that thing work. All right, NQ trying to break out of this little single bar sideways range. You see this? I would probably draw it like this. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. That's how I would probably draw that. We got to get up and away. This is, really, look at it like this too. Again, don't even draw it. Just think. You see that? It's a big full day trading range. So a good setup is going to really need to kind of thread the needle, at least, in my head. SpaceX sitting pretty much at my average price here. All right, minute 50 out from the close up. Big bar 23 here on NQ. Update here, USO, that's oil, has now gone red, sitting down 0.03%. Gold up 0.54%. NASDAQ up 0.34%. S&P's basically unchanged, minus 0.06%. All right, 37 seconds out here from the close of 23. Come on, bulls. I got to tell you, it's a tough ask. Remember, we have FOMC. That is the Fed's interest rate decision. Expectation is no change. If they do make a change, the market's going to go wild, no matter what the change would be. But we have FOMC here at 2 o'clock Eastern. That is 2.5 hours away, so we've got plenty of time. SpaceX trying to bounce here. Sitting in the money about, it's bouncing all over the place, about 50 cents. Depending on the tick. The battle of 190 right now. Futures trying to roll over here on 24, kind of backfill this full single bar sideways range. We'll see how big 24 ends up being on the close. We still got 425 out. That's all the time in the world. This thing, I mean, we could close as a bull body, right? But I got to keep an eye here on 24, see how that closes up. I could short it if I get a reasonable setup. 23, 24. So you get 21, 22, massive wick, much smaller bull body. 23 rolling over, 24 nice clean bare body. If it were to close like right here, I'd short that thing. If it gets much bigger, it's way too close in my head to the lower third of the trading range. Again, these are NASDAQ futures. Tides in the chat, how we doing? Trading Chris, what's up, brother? Yeah, SpaceX trying to test lower here. Testing the 188s. Again, low a day here is 187.01. So current average here 190.14. I would cut that at 186.99. If we give up 187 here on SpaceX, I'm out. Oil, by the way, heading even lower, now minus 0.18%. We just went red not that long ago here on oil, now minus 0.2%. Yesterday, oil down like 6%, at least midday. All right, we're minute 40 out here from the close up. Big bar 24 here on NQ. That's the futures. Back in the money on that SpaceX position. Trading Chris says, feeling good, brother? Doing exactly as you teach? Having consistent, profitable months now. Performance has increased greatly after purely measuring adherence to strategy rather than P&L, my man. Big dog. We love it. Good work. Good work. All right, sitting, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 cents in the money here on the SpaceX position. That is nothing. The spread on this thing is sometimes 20, 30 cents. $45 seconds out till all these 5-minute bars roll over across the board, futures and stocks, obviously. Trading Chris says, even though multiple consistent profitable months now, still feeling major imposter syndrome, but we shall keep digging at it. You know what imposter syndrome, I think, you know where it comes from as traders? You've been conditioned so hard that you can't make this work because everyone you told you, ha. They said, ha! You think you're going to be a day trader, huh? How about you go get a job like the rest of us? So when you have a couple months to months back to back, or a couple back to back months, I should say, where you're actually paying your bills with trading, it kind of feels like this probably isn't sustainable. But the truth is, having consistent profitable months in the market is something that almost no trader who starts this will be able to string together. Now, you don't have the biggest sample size in the world. If you had 20 years, that would be better. If you had 3 generations of every profitable month, right? I mean, back to back, that would be even better, right? But where do you draw that line? So what I would say is the imposter syndrome starts to go away once you've done it in multiple market environments. Because the problem with only a few consistent months is that the market environment in most cases hasn't shifted that much. So it's still in the back of your head like, yeah, but can I keep it up? They're probably right. You know, I'll probably just lose it all here at some point when the market shifts. And I think as long as you're maintaining context first, you'll see those shifts without really having to think about it. Like, if the market shifts from a sideways range and you're killing it into a big bear trend, a lot of people end up giving it back because they just assume it's going to be a range forever. But when it shifts to a bear trend, if you're thinking context first always, you won't even have to think that it's shifting into a bear trend. You'll just see it in the price action and do what you're supposed to do accordingly. Which is why it's tier number 1 in RAM, right? I mean, that was one of my biggest issues. So I just built it in first. So you don't really have to think about it. Again, this was built for me, not you, big dog. It'll go away with time, that imposter syndrome. All right. NASDAQ futures here doing absolutely nothing. Come back to it when it's time to hit it. SpaceX, 220 in the money here. Again, average price 190.14, so $2.20 per share-ish in the money. $3 in the money. let that position keep working here. SpaceX struggling a tad here with 193. You can see that on the tape. There we go. Start putting out a couple limit orders here on the offer on SpaceX. Try to scale out. The thing with these limits, nothing out yet. Cancel that order, let this thing work. The thing with these limit orders, especially like profit-taking orders, using the bid in the offer on SpaceX, it's kind of wide. It's sitting like 20 cents on average wide, the bid-ask spread. So when you use limits, you don't always get fills. That's especially true if you're trading with bigger size, right? So sitting in the low 193s. See if we can make another push higher. All right, there's the rollover, by the way, the 5-minute bars. Chris says, I trade mean reversion, and I was getting cooked on trend days, yep. Started to utilize RAM momentum setups on trend days, and the equity curve improved by a lot. The thing with mean reversion on trend days, like that's sort of what the SpaceX position is, right? Average 190.14. About 250 in the money. The thing with mean reversion is on hard trend days, it's really hard to figure out how to manage risk. And going counter trend is only going to blow you up. If not the first time, it eventually will. Because you usually end up going counter trend with no stop. I think a lot of people do that in the early days. But on days like this, where you get bars like this one, you know, you're able to get a much more clear way to manage risk. And, you know, it actually does fit the context. Whereas in a bear trend, more of a soft bear channel is what we're looking at here on SpaceX. In a bear trend, for me, it's not even on my mind to get long. I just know that given the context of SpaceX, this is a little bit different than NQ, you know, because you have individual name context rather than just the entire NASDAQ as a whole. You know you're going to see a bounce on SpaceX today. It's just figuring out how to manage risk on doing it. And then how far does the bounce go? Even if this does turn back into a bear trend, I'm still, you know, until it's truly a bear trend, I'm willing to play the bounce. If it does become a bear trend, then it's short side or nothing for me. So, SpaceX here is still trying to make its way through the 193s. There we go. Let's test 194 here. 95 on the offer there on the level 2. There you go. Pop through 194. Scaling out half. Let's see what we got. See if I can get a fill on the rest of it. All right, I'm flat there on SpaceX. Totally flat. Good trade. Good trade. Let's keep it pushing. Still absolutely nothing happening on NQ. I'm totally flat. Looking for more positions here to throw on. AMD, honestly, I don't know. For me, there's not much to do there. NVIDIA. No. ICCM, again, biggest gainer of the day, up 200% on the day. You see how slow that tape is moving here on ICCM? Don't even try to trade this thing, is my opinion. Don't even hit it. You'll get stuck. It's not worth it. You want to be where the volume is, which is why I'm covering SpaceX so heavily, because the volume's there. It's the most active stock on the market the last 4 days. All right, back to NQ futures here. We got 20 seconds out here to the close up. Big bar 26. I'm watching that wick high of 22. That's a problem. Now you guys want to see something? This is SpaceX. You see how this is a big soft bear channel, at least potentially? This is kind of the second test right here. Well, a lot of people would look at this and say, RAM set up to the long side, right? The context isn't great. The context isn't great. Now, by the way, I get this question a lot. It's like, Nico, do you trade RAM the same way on stock as you do on NQ? Yeah, the only difference is there's little nuance as far as the individual company, and this being an IPO, the most active equity on the market today and in the last few days. That's the only difference. Same as like trading commodities on futures. It's all the exact same as far as RAM, with a little twist with the nuance, which is not really that big of a deal. You just got to understand what you're looking at. On NQ, no, that's nothing. Got some news coming in, no big deal for us. On NQ, you know, it's just what you guys are used to seeing. Because the nuance is what we're always looking at. Context here, by the way, big sideways range. I mean, you want to look at this. You have the whole day here. That's tough. A lot of traders are going to get blown up on NQ here today, I promise you that. How many traders do you think lost accounts from bar 15 to now? Whole bunch. Don't be one of them. By the way, look at SoFi, one of the more active stocks on the market here today. Actually made the list of most active here. SoFi up almost 5%, 4.91%. Spread here is a penny wide. Easy to trade as far as liquidity, which is what you want. But you see, the one thing I want to point out, you guys see all that size on the offer? You know, top left of your screen, and then in that box, the top right. All that size on the offer, the rungs on the ladder, so to speak, are very tight. You see how that size get cleared, and then it kind of backfills, slowly but surely? This thing's trading like a cheap, very large cap company. Effectively, it's what it is, right? Those are not, you know, as far as catching a trend, they can be all right for day traders. But as far as big, quick moves, the size on a penny-wide bid-ask spread is going to slow things down, which is why you see stocks like this move in a more grindy fashion. So if that frustrates you, then don't get involved to begin with and wonder what the hell happened. Now you see this on SpaceX? What we just talk about? You got a big soft bear channel. It's struggling. It's struggling. Now if the bulls can get us up through this high here and up through volume weighted average price, which is also conveniently kind of that $200 area, all of a sudden I'm looking to get long because we've got a big reversal on our hands. Until then, for me here on SpaceX, I'm thinking short or nothing. Yeah, so I see people talking about Robinhood. See Hood here? Up 10.5% here today. Now the last three, this is a 5-minute chart. The last three 5-minute bars, effectively dojis. You can see on the level 2, top left of your screen. It is trading a little bit thinner than something like SoFi here today. But it's going to grind. You know, especially now you're seeing, I don't want to say some volume drop off, but you know, it's nothing like around 11 a.m. Back to NQ here. Yeah, you see this SpaceX trying to get back down into the 192 region, struggling again with 193 back to the short side. This is a big soft bear channel. I can't get long SpaceX here. Absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, you've got Rubico, RUBI popping. This is a penny stock. I'm not big on stocks below $2 a share. The percentage of actual price that the bid-ask spread typically ends up being is a little too large for my liking. Not to mention that these names are, in my experience, much more heavily manipulated. But worth mentioning because it is moving. RUBI catching a pop here. Back to NQ futures, bar 28, 50 seconds out. Whole bunch of nothing going on here on NQ. Big sideways single bar trading range, even tighter than what we saw between bar 15 and 21. All right, guys, hey, don't you go anywhere. We'll be back. Quick break. 2 minutes. All right. Welcome back. Okay, we've got big bar 30, 4 minutes out. Still single bar sideways trading range here on NQ. We're going to need NQ to break higher here. Make a move. By the way, you got SpaceX actually finding a bid here. Trying to move up through 195. While also making it a lot harder to make that argument for that soft bear channel as we take out the wick high of this bear body here, or at least attempt to. Grab a little starter here on SpaceX. And stop will go below that recent wick low, right around 192.50. And Q here still. Oh my goodness! Bar 30! Minute 45 out, are you kidding me? Oh, SpaceX, you're already making a push. 90 cents in the money, a buck in the money. Coming into volume weighted average price, yes, for the first test since the first 5-minute bar of the day here. View up sitting 197.65. Stalling out in the high 195s here. There's not even really that much size. You can see there's a bit of size on the level 2. Kind of middle left of your screen, that box there. Let's see if we can get up through 196. Getting a little bit of news out of Delta. It's not going to be market moving here. It's Delta Airlines increasing its fleet efficiency. That's okay. That's not going to move the stock too much. All right, SpaceX taking its time. Back over here to NQ Futures. We got bar 31. By the way, Vroom stock is up 44. Market cap here is only 14 million. This thing is a disaster. absolute train wreck. Up 44% on the day, hitting a circuit breaker to the downside. Oh, man. All right, 4 minutes out here to the close up of 31. Sitting about 70, 80 cents in the money here on that SpaceX position. Giving it room to breathe, letting it do its thing. Beautiful bull body here on a bar 31 on NASDAQ futures. 3 minutes out here. Watching the wick highs of this bar back here, bar 22 and bar 16, these two. You see SpaceX pulling back here just a hair. Take another little ad. Stop staying in the same place, 192.50. New average on SpaceX, 194.83, about 20 cents in the money. All right, 222 out from the close up of big bar 31 here on NQ. I'm looking to get along, but I need this thing to close nice and clean. Oh, we got a minute 37 out here on NQ. By the way, getting news from Trump. He's saying he discussed discussed some of the Iran agreements with officials at the G7 summit. So we'll see if we get some headlines out of there. All right, we got 50 seconds out. Again, that itself is not going to move markets too much, but it's what could come next out of Trump or Iran that could give us some headlines here. We got a lot going on right now. I got SpaceX trying to make a move higher. Got bar 31 here, 27 seconds out. Come on, bulls! Pop it. Give me a nice clean close. That's not what I want to see. Swallow up that wick. All right, there's going to be a whole lot of nothing here on NQ. We'll watch 32. Yeah, by the way, for those of you guys who trade penny stocks, called out Ruby here on the show. What was it, at 49 cents? I'm not a big fan of stocks under $2 a share. Under $1 a share, I'll say. I'll trade in the $1 sometimes. But this thing now up to damn near 60 cents a share, 57.58. Trump wrapping up at the G7 summit saying he did not want to see an economic catastrophe, by the way. All right, you got bar 32. These are NASDAQ futures that you're looking at right now. We're 3.5 minutes out from the close of this 5-minute bar. SpaceX still trying to grind higher here. You got volume weighted average price, 197.59. About $1 in the money here on this trade. Bid-ask spread on SpaceX currently sitting between about 15 cents, sometimes down to 10 cents. We've got a big. You're on NQ, I gotta tell you. You could effectively draw this as a big sideways range. You could also make the argument here for a soft bull channel. Either way, it's tight. It is tight. Patience. $1.50 in the money here on the SpaceX position. Take a little piece there off. And I'll scale out and get flat there on SpaceX. Take profit. Let's move on. Coming into volume weighted average price, 197.59. That's going to be the first test since bar 1 on the day here. So I imagine SpaceX might see a little bit of hesitation. Again, self-fulfilling prophecy. Nothing more, nothing less. Right. Bar 32. Whole bunch of nothing on NQ, man. Come on now. By the way, if you're not aware, one of the most active stocks, I guess you'd say ETFs, but one of the most active names, we'll call it, in the market today is SPCH. That's a 2 times leverage long daily SpaceX ETF. So if that volatility on SpaceX, if that ain't enough for you, SPCH, people are trading it here today. It's made the list of most active names. Gotta tell you, man, we might have to hit it if I get a reasonable setup. Cause NQ is in a big old trading range, and I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. A lot of accounts getting blown in the last 10 5-minute bars. Don't be part of that group. So SpaceX here pulling back. Good profit take on that last trade. Just waiting for the next setup here. Again, you may be wondering, why am I covering SpaceX so much? It's the most active equity in the market. And as a trader, you want to be where the volume is. You don't want to trade dead stuff. By the way, you got Bird, ticker BIRD, now sitting about 50% higher, 53, 54% on the day. Now, market cap on this name is only 21.5 million, so it's a small cap. All right, but you've got volume here. See that bid-ask spread, couple pennies wide? It's not trading incredibly thick, meaning you don't have massive size, so it can be nimble and move quickly. You end up with a move like that. Now, a lot of these, by the way, they won't hold, right? They'll make a move and then people will kind of lose interest. Traders will move on and it'll fade. It's a moment in time on these small caps, okay? Biggest mistake you can make is to sit there. You did well on it in the morning, let's say, and you sit there the whole afternoon and hit it on the way down. The short sellers are already in, man. They're making their money. Move on. If you're going to trade small caps, it's a moment in time. Get to the party as early as humanly possible. Leave before it's over. Get your piece and head out. You don't want to be the last one up at that party, man. SpaceX coming back in here, trying to test volume-weighted average price. Those bulls won't give up. It's okay, by the way, to be patient here on the futures. NASDAQ ain't doing much, man. How's everyone doing today, by the way, man? How we doing? Daily check-in time. Daily check-in time. How are we? We doing well today, man? By the way, look at this. SpaceX coming in for a test of volume-weighted average price. It's a grind at this point. You see that? That bid-ask spread is tightening down. We're now getting down into 10, 12, 15 cents on the width. Earlier in the day, we were looking at 20, 30, 40 cents on the width. Mario says doing great. Candle says doing great. I'm doing well as well, my friend. Just getting a little chewed up, not being patient. Look, guys, on NQ today, you gotta chill out. Okay, look, see this? Bunch of accounts getting blown in there. That's a single bar sideways range. That is not a clean soft bull channel, as much as you'd like to call it that. It's a single bar sideways range. There's way too much of an argument. We need to break out here on NQ, one way or the other. I don't care. Let's pick a direction and go! It'll increase volume, get some volatility going, hopefully clean up the price action. Now, I know it seems like volatility, ATR has got to be, what, about 7 points right now? Nope, ATR is 44 here on NQ. Crazy, you wouldn't think it's that high. Here you go, you got the test volume weighted average price on SpaceX hitting as we speak. Gonna hit a little bit of a starter position here on NVIDIA. You can see it's making a move here. So we're coming right into volume weighted average price. Yep, that's my point. And I'm gonna risk just below 207 there. Stop will go right below 207. Grab a little more size on that position. Set my stop. 206.99. Average price on that NVIDIA position, 207.38. About 10 cents in the money so far. NQ here, bar 34, 15 seconds out. Not too much going on NQ. There's a close on NVIDIA. Taking its time a tad here, getting up through the high of that previous bar. Give it a second. Back here, NQ Futures got bar 35. We're about 4 minutes out from the close here on 35. See if these bulls can get us up through the 207.60s. Well, back into the 207.50s, taking its time over here on NVIDIA. All right, you got NQ over here, bar 35. Minute 42 out here from the close of bar 35. Still in that sideways range, but it looks to me like we may end up breaking higher here. Not enough for me to take a trade yet, of course. We gotta let NQ do its thing. NVIDIA trying to pull back here to volume weighted average price. Sitting about 5 cents in the money. There we go. Let's see if we can get a another attempt here up through 207.60s. I could grab a bit more size there. On the retest, risk is going to stay 206.99. Okay, NQ here, 4 minutes 15 seconds out from the close. All right, reminder here, we have FOMC in 1 hour and 34 minutes. Average price on this NVIDIA position, 207.36, 10 cents in the money. Three minutes out, by the way, till it close up bar 36 here on NASDAQ futures. Basically a big old single bar channel. You take it easy in, man, in a situation like this. Whole bunch of accounts being blown right now, you know it. I got my eye on that wick high of bar 31 there, right there. Halfway through bar 36, we'll see how this guy closes up. By the way, SpaceX here rejecting off its volume-weighted average price. We'll see if that continues lower or if we're able to take another bull run at it and get some closes above there. Then we come into the 200 level. If we can clear both of those things and then get a nice continuation ram setup, oh baby, it might be off to the races to high a day. But until then, SpaceX for me is a bit more hands-off. Didn't break even on the NVIDIA trade. All right, ATR falling here on NASDAQ. Down to 38 points for the average range here of a 5-minute bar. Volatility slowing. We need to get away from this little single bar range. Exactly 90 minutes out, by the way, from the FOMC Fed rate decision. Right. Well, back here to NVIDIA. NVIDIA's sitting in the high 207.30s. Again, my average here is 207.36. Stop at 206.99. Looking to pull at least 30, 40, 50 cents here out of this trade. If the bulls can get some backbone here and take us up through the 207.60s, which is what they're having trouble with. Retesting volume weighted average price now. Grab a little extra size on NVIDIA down here. Stop still staying at 206.99. That'll bring the average to 207.35. Man, NQ tight right now, you know. Take it easy. Take it easy. This is a single bar channel. We're going to move away from this. I just hope we don't stick through this until, 2 o'clock here when the Fed makes their decision. I hope we move away sooner than that. Microsoft coming down for a test potentially of low of day. Sit and break even here on the NVIDIA position. NQ futures making a move downside, testing that 20 EMA. We've been all over that 20 EMA. It's effectively meaningless here at this point. SpaceX falling here, pulling down away from volume-weighted average price. All right, there's the open to bar 38 here on NQ. NVIDIA looking for a bit of a bounce here. All right, let's see if we can get up into the 207.60s and then into the 70s where we had trouble before. Where the bulls had some trouble, I should say. All right, we got NQ trying to bounce here and maintain that little range. NVIDIA attempting a breakthrough volume-weighted average price. No cigar there out of the bears. Bulls trying to take this thing back higher. NVIDIA having a lot of trouble here with the 207.50s, the low 207.60s. I want to see how that level 2 box reacts if we can get back up there. NASDAQ getting a little bit of a bounce here out of the hole, maintaining that range, that single bar channel. NVIDIA trying to bounce up here to the 207.60s. SpaceX doing what it can to hold after that little rejection. 4-ish point rejection on volume weighted average price. All right, NVIDIA, 207.60 on the offer. See if we can push through to the 70s. Yeah, a lot of hesitation here. I'm going to start scaling out here slowly but surely. Having a hell of a time getting fills. All right, I'm flat there on the NVIDIA trade. Most of my fills around the 57, 58 region. Not bad. Not bad. Would have liked to get more out of that trade, but having so much trouble on the level 2 up at 207.60. So I'll book it there, and I'll keep an eye on NVIDIA. I wish it was moving a bit more. So I'm going to stay flat on NVIDIA for now. You see this on NQ? We're flattening out a bit. 36, 37, 38, 39, these 4 bars here. I'm curious to see if we end up curling back downside. NQ futures go back in play. That would be ideal. Well, good profit take on NVIDIA, pulling right back to volume weighted average price. If you're going to be trading stocks, I'd highly encourage you to be watching that level 2 box. When I'm sitting long on any stock, my eyes are glued to the offer side. Paying attention to the bid-ask spread on NVIDIA, you don't have to worry about it too much. SpaceX here, by the way, trying to climb back up to volume weighted average price, having a hell of a time. NASDAQ, the most interesting thing here right now. Let's see what bar 39 brings. 335 out. Let's see if the bears can take this baby lower. All right, NQ, let's get out of here. Let's get out of this little sideways channel. Break this thing lower. Yeah, someone's calling out SoFi in the chat. SoFi making a retest here, volume weighted average price. Look at the level 2 box. See all that size on the bid and the offer? This thing is trading thick. It's thick. Slows things down a lot. Nvidia trying to break through volume weighted average price here, by the way. See if we can take out the wick low of this bigger green body back here. NQ is still attempting a downside push. It's going to have some trouble, you know it is, because we've got a big range, and we're about an hour 15 out here from the FOMC rate decision. By the way, guys, heads up, TakeProfitTrader, baby, 40% off. No activation fee when you use code BIG. That's B-I-G when you buy your account. The activation fee is $130. When you pass your test, they'll say, okay, to activate it, got to pay $130. Big dog, you want daily payouts? That'll be $130. You'll say, whoa, slow down, big guy. You'll say, I used code BIG when I signed up. They'll say, sir, we apologize. It's free. Go hit it. All right, you got SpaceX here. Having a hell of a time with that volume weighted average price, man. And right after that, you got $200 a share, which is clearly a psychological level. We've seen us last couple of days breaking down through 200 to get a quick dump. Makes sense, right? You got to imagine it's going to work a similar way, maybe a little bit less extreme back upside, but already having trouble here getting up through volume weighted average price. So we'll see how SpaceX continues. Look at the futures here. 4 minutes out till the close, bar 40. This is a 5-minute chart on NASDAQ futures. That's NQ. We'll see if we can get a nice clean close, but I got my eye here on the wick lows. 22, 23, 24, 25, 27. That area is a mess. So we'll see what the next few minutes brings. All right, 215 out here from the close of bar 40 on NQ. See how it closes up. Trump's saying the U.S. has taken a lot of Iran's money, and at some point we're going to have to give it back. He also said if we didn't return Iran's money, that no one would ever invest in the U.S. dollar again. Not moving the market too much here. Minute 40 out here from the close of bar 40. Beautiful bears. Keep that up. Keep that up, bears. All right, minute 12 out here. Hey, man, if you haven't yet, I appreciate you hitting like. You're on the show. Appreciate you doing so. All right, bar 40. 50 seconds out. Come on now. Beauty. Got that wick low of, man, this is a mess, though, I gotta tell you. Those wick lows, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27. It's a mess, but this has been so tight for so long that bar 39 and 40 to me look reasonable. They do look reasonable. 30 seconds here. Let's see what we end up with as far as a close. I don't want to see too much wick. Certainly an early trade here. ATR 39, range on this bar sitting in the mid-30s. Bulls wicking it back. You see that insecurity? You see that? Let's see if the bears can swallow that up before the close here of this bar. If the bears want to take out the wick low of bar 40 there within like 15 seconds, then I'm going to hit it short. We only got 5 seconds left. No fill, no trade. All right, you've got SpaceX here having a lot of trouble. Still effectively leading the market in volume. BITO, believe it or not, is actually leading the market in volume. It's an $8 or $9 stock, so that makes some sense. But obviously BITO, look at the size on that level too. Quick heads up, if you're newer to this, when you see a stock like this, this is not for day traders. Okay, this is very thick. Don't want to be involved on a stock like BITO looking like that. NQ here trying to bounce bar 41. See if it can. Chat, Javaz says, nothing fancy today. Just rubber band trades, currently green on all 26 accounts. My man. My man. Now, if you're wondering, hey, how is our friend Javaz here trading 26 accounts? Well, Apex lets you trade 20. So there's 20 right there. I don't know what his makeup looks like, but 90% off single day pass with code BIG over at Apex. Tremendous deal. We buy the party pack, man. 5 at a time. Remember you used to have to buy one at a time? Not anymore. These bears having just a hell of a time getting beneath the wick low bar 40. Absolutely nothing to do here on NQ right now. SpaceX, you can see pulling back a second time from volume weighted average price, unable to get up through there. I think the bulls are looking at that and saying, yeah, but even if we get through, we've got $2, $2.50, and then we have to deal with 200. And they say, I'm going to take profit, getting long up out of this hole now. So for me, SpaceX is pretty hands-off right now. Look at this! NQ testing the wick low 40, minute 15 out. Let's see what bar 41 brings here as far as a close. AMD, by the way, remember I was trying to drive up out of the hole after yesterday's big bear trend all day on AMD. AMD is dead. Dead. Look how slowly the tape is populating top right of your screen. Dead. Those are all the orders going through. Nothing going on AMD. Do not want to be a part of that. You want to be where the volume is when you're trading stock. Well, when you're trading anything, but stock in particular, right? Okay, 10 seconds out here. Till the close of bar 41. See if the bears want to take us beneath the wick low 40. Last second here. Nope, they're going to close inside. See that inside close? Bar 41 closing inside the wick low 40. That is stand down for me. Just not enough confidence there. NASDAQ trying to bounce up out of the hole. You see what I'm seeing right now? Keep it simple, man. I think this is a big sideways range. Now, if the bears can break us lower, for me, it's like, oh, man, clean close, and I'm shorting it. 100%. We're not seeing that, though. Inside close. Wick back on bar 40, inside close on 41. Closing inside the wick low 40. There's nothing. Nothing. We'll see how these next couple of bars on NASDAQ futures close up. In the meantime, you got SpaceX still trying to pull back from volume-weighted average price. We'll see if we're able to take out the wick low of this bigger bear body. Take a little starter here to the short side on NVIDIA. See here now turning that volume weighted average price into resistance. Keep the wrist tight here. All right, sitting short NVIDIA, average 207.17. Got my stop right up at 207.45. Risk very tight on that trade. If they crack that wick high, that last little doji bar, this guy here, cut it and I'll move on. Then we're just dancing around volume weighted average price. But for me, that makes sense to toss on there. Great reward to risk. Okay. We're on NQ. I'm watching that wick low of 41. Yeah, let's pop over to NVIDIA here and watch that. Again, this is that wick high that my risk is managed right above, right there. All right. So we're about an hour out, by the way, from the FOMC rate decision. That's from the Fed, right? We'll grab some more size here on this NVIDIA short. And risk will stay at 207.45. NASDAQ here, bar 42. Not getting too much done over here. Get average here on NVIDIA, my short position, 207.15. Sitting a little bit in the money right now, stop up at 207.45. All right. Coming in for a test here of 207 on NVIDIA. I'll let that do its thing while I head back over here at NASDAQ futures. Ooh, NVIDIA seeing a crack downside through 207. See that bid slip in 207 into the 206s? See if we can maintain that now. Average price 207.15 on this short here on NVIDIA. See if we can slip 207 harder. There you go. Slip that bid. Go! By the way, we got NQ making a bit of a move downside here. Take a peek at that. NVIDIA trying to reclaim 207. All right, gonna give that time to work here. Back to NQ, NASDAQ futures, 2 minutes out. Nvidia here trying to slip 207 harder. We're going to see if we can get down into the 206.80s here on Nvidia. Watching that bid, top left of your screen. There we go. Scaling out, starting to get a little deeper here. Still hanging out in the 206.90s. Check this out. We got 20 seconds out till the close of bar 43 over on NQ. Keeping an eye on that as well. I'm not a big fan of that wick. I'll tell you that much. All right, watching this roll over here on NQ. Now, if the Bears want to crack the wick low of 43, I'd like to be a part of that on NQ, and I will be a part of that. I'm sitting short NQ on the break of 43. Stop up at 304.11.25. All right, now let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. So I'm now sitting short NQ futures and Nvidia stock. I'm half scaled out of my Nvidia short. Bar 44 here. Let's see what they got. You got Nvidia, by the way, retesting the 207s. NQ maintaining a tiny little bull body. Let's see if that can give way. Stop on NQ sitting 30,411 and a quarter. All right, let's see if this market can curl. Reject that thing, Bears. See what they got. By the way, we are 52 minutes out from the FOMC Fed rate decision. We still got the battle of 207 going on Nvidia over here. Sitting short, average. Oh, baby! Look at this! Look at this! NQ making a move here. Nvidia also making a move here. Let this thing settle down. We may have just gotten news. That was quite the wiggle, huh? All right, let's see if these bears want to step back in, roll us back over. No headline coming through yet. Okay, now, on this NVIDIA short, average currently sitting 207.14. Scaled out of about half, about 40% of the position, down in profit. I'm now sitting more or less break even, a tad in the red, stop at 207.45 on the remainder of the position on the NVIDIA short. NQ, stop at 30,411 and a quarter. Back in the money on NVIDIA, by the way. All right, we got NVIDIA here trying to slip 207 again. All right, keeping an eye on that bid on the level 2. By the way, NQ trying to come back around here. Average is 30.60. I'm sorry, 30,360 on the NQ short. NVIDIA, 207.14 is the average. Yeah, I'm gonna need that bid to slip 207 a lot harder than that. Back to NQ here. By the way, we're getting quite a few headlines out of the G7 summit here. A few from Trump, nothing incredibly market moving. Of course, you'll be the first to know if we do get anything. "45 minutes out from the FOMC Fed rate decision, by the way. Nvidia trying to roll back over into the 206.80s. There you go, covering the rest of Nvidia on that little dump flat there. Good short on Nvidia. Back to the NQ short, only remaining position. Again, I repeat, I'm completely flat now on the Nvidia short. Good trade. Sitting about 3 points in the red here on Nvidia. Let's get this thing rolling over. Back in the money on the Nvidia short. Average is 360. ATR currently 36. By the way, Trump just ended his press conference. Come on now, NQ. Let's roll over. Let's get this thing. What do you guys think is fair? Maybe 300 points? Give me a whole bunch of slippage. By the way, update here. S&P's down 0.16%. NASDAQ up 0.23%. Oil slipping even a tad more, down 0.58% after yesterday's bloodbath. Gold up 0.56%. Again, only position here right now, I'm short the NASDAQ futures at 30,360. Sitting a hair in the red on that position right now. There you go. Let's roll this baby over. Ooh, I don't want to see those bulls start forming a sideways range down here now. Yep. That is slowly becoming a risk here. All right, rolling over bar 46, closing into bar 47, 5 minutes out. Chat, Mario says made an extra 3 G's with the Roensch action method, baby. My man. My man, good work. By the way, SpaceX here finally able to pop through its volume weighted average price. Now the question is, can we maintain that? And the second question is, what about $200 a share? Nvidia straight into a single bar sideways range, whole bunch of nothing. AMD actually catching a little bit more volatility, but pretty slow over here on AMD after all that sideways action. Back to NQ futures here. Yeah, we may have a sideways range on our hands here. I'm not a fan of that. Okay, stop on my NQ position here. 30,411 and a quarter. Of course, that's the wick high at bar 43, signal bar. Now, with that big move, would they have us in the money? 34-ish points. Here we go, coming in for a test of the stop. All right, stopped out there on the NQ short, flat, first stop out of the day. Let's keep it moving, man. Right back into a sideways trading range. Yeah, we got, what, 38 minutes here until that FOMC Fed rate decision. Still got time. We still got time, but I imagine on NQ here we might be sitting in the sideways range until we get that. Now, the expectation is no change. If they do make a change, the market's going to go wild. You see SpaceX here, rolling over after a nice clean bull body, trying to pull back in for a test of volume weighted average price. Take a long position on SpaceX there. Average price, 197.97. NASDAQ coming in here for a test of that 20 EMA. Okay, 15 seconds out till the close up here at 47. Rolling over into bar 50, 48. Look at this. Actually pulling back a tad now. About 50 cents in the money here on this SpaceX long. Well, let that do its thing. We got 200 on the agenda. Back to NQ here for now. Alright, bar 48, 420 out. By the way, stop on that SpaceX position, 196.30. $35 minutes out from the Fed interest rate decision here, the FOMC. 34 now minutes. Alright, we got bar 48 here. Trying to make a move up through that 20 EMA, including the wick high of 47. So at about 25 cents. You gotta understand, SpaceX is volatile, man. In the money here on the SpaceX position. Let that do its thing. While we watch 48 close up here on NQ. Two minutes out until the close up bar 48. Alright, minute 25 out till 48 closes up here on NQ. I am looking... You know, it's tough because I see a big sideways trade range, but I also see room back upside if this bar can stay reasonably sized, meaning not grow too much more. I would also need to thread the needle. I need this thing to close basically in here for me to think about getting long here on NQ on the rollover of this bar. Minute 5 seconds out. SpaceX position, 30-40 cents in the money. Letting it do its thing. See that tape on SpaceX not moving as fast as it was here this morning, of course, but that thing is still moving. Most active large cap in the market, of course, today. Alright, 35 seconds out here on NQ. $30 minutes out, by the way, till the FOMC Fed interest rate decision. 15 seconds out from the 48 close here on NQ Futures, NASDAQ. All right, let's see if this guy can close up nice and clean. It's a reasonable close. See that? Closing outside the wick high of 47. Now I got to see if the bulls want to take out the wick high of 48 here, which they're not doing quickly. It's going to be a no trade there for me on NASDAQ. So now I'm just sitting long still on SpaceX here. 50, 60 points. I'm sorry, cents in the money. All right, SpaceX here having a little bit of trouble in the high 198s. You can see it on the level 2 box there, kind of middle left of your screen. 198.80 there on the offer. We'll start scaling out a little bit here if I can get fills on that offer. That's a big if. In a few fills here. Nice pop through into the 199s, and I'm flat there in the low to mid 199s. Fills on that. I got in the high 198s, and then a lot around the 199.11 and 199.28 area on the fills on closing out that SpaceX position. So flat, back to flat. All right, back to futures here. No positions on right now. Looking for the next trade. How we doing so far today, guys? It's all business here today. 28 minutes out here till the FOMC decision. Hey man, if you haven't yet, I appreciate you hitting like here on the show. Hey, or dislike, big dog, whatever you need. But I appreciate you doing so. I will be here to cover the FOMC Fed rate decision here. 27 minutes from now. All right, SpaceX hanging out in the low 199s. Having trouble moving up toward 200. I like the fills that I got on closing that long position. Now I want to see what happens if and when we pull up into the 200 region. Focus back on NASDAQ futures here. We got bar 49 rolling over into bar 50 in 27 seconds. Hey, reminder, guys, TakeProfitTrader, 40% off, no activation fee, which is $130 that they'll say, nah, you don't have to pay that, you're good. Code BIG, you got to use code BIG, B-I-G, when you buy your accounts over there. And then you will not pay that activation fee, and they'll give you 40% off the rip, man. Go hit it. Go hit it. The big deal with Take Profit Trader is the daily payouts. Tremendous. All right, coming up into 200 on SpaceX, by the way. At least trying to. Having a little bit of trouble getting through the mid 199. It's got that wick high of that last 5-minute bar there. Back to NQ, big bar 50, 4.5 minutes out. Hey Dave, what's up, brother? How we doing? All right, guys. Hey, we have been hitting it hard. You guys give me a couple minutes. We will be right back after a quick break. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. We've got bar 52 closing up here, 4 minutes, 40 seconds out. We're in a single bar sideways range. We are 15 minutes away from the Fed FOMC interest rate decision. Expectation, by the way, is no change. However, if the Fed does make a change, the market is going to go nuts. Which direction? Well, I mean, it depends what the change is and what the context around the change is. What about you guys? Anyone sitting in a position heading into FOMC here? You gotta be careful, depending what prop you're trading with. You may have to be flat. With some of them, you're not allowed to trade news. You gotta understand, you know. TakeProfitTrader, for example. You want to chill out around FOMC. SpaceX, by the way, is still struggling. It's been what, 20 minutes? Struggling between 198 and 200? Really 199.50? I think everything is just kind of taking a breather here heading into FOMC. AMD was attempting taking its highs, now pulling on back. As for me, I'm sitting entirely flat right now. Pretty good day here so far. "13 minutes out till the FOMC Fed rate decision." Bar 52 here on NASDAQ Futures NQ. We're 2:15 out from the close here of this bar, trying to roll over. I don't imagine it's going to get very far. Because again, we are just about 12 minutes out here from the big Fed headline. Okay, it's kind of the calm before the storm now. Okay, now, by the way, just a heads up. Again, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, about 11 minutes from now, we have the FOMC Fed interest rate decision. Okay? For expectations, we're looking at being priced in is currently about a 99.6 probability that the Fed does nothing. Okay, now the market does not like unexpected things. If the Fed does make a change, the market is going to be extremely volatile. If they do make a change, which is not very likely, but if they do, don't freeze up or get nuts and punch into a trade based on FOMO or something. You're highly likely to blow up doing so, because when that kind of thing happens, the market tends to jerk back and forth 2 or 3 times in maybe a 300, 400, 500 point trading range. Okay, but just understand, very high probability that the Fed does nothing here. 10 minutes out. By the way, even the most active equities on the market here today, BITO, most active today in terms of shares traded, is completely barcoding. SpaceX number 2, but I mean, really, you could say number 1 based on the price difference between those two. SpaceX, right around $1.99 a share, is really the most active equity here. Again, especially based on dollar amounts. When you consider the shares traded, it's in the number 2 slot, but BITO is only a $9 stock. So obviously, people trade more shares, right? But even SpaceX slowing down here. Everyone's chilling out right ahead of FOMC, AMD. Not too much going on. Apple trying to curl up out of that hole. Tesla in a sideways range. Back to NQ futures here, NASDAQ futures. NQ, what are you doing? Trying to break out of this little sideways, single bar sideways range. Look at this. 49 through 52, now 53, trying to break out. 2 minutes, 50 seconds left here until this bar closes up. When this bar closes, bar 53 here, we will be exactly 5 minutes out from the Fed decision, and NQ is trying to break out. I don't know where it thinks it's going. Man, look at this. Look at this. We're only 25 points away from the wick highs of bar 31, 36, 37. Which this mess up here, you know, that is a mess. Let's look at the whole day, by the way. Starting with bar number 1. That's the New York Open right there. NVIDIA also seeing a little bit of a pop here. See this? See all that green hitting the tape? That's people paying above the offer. Look, I know it's tempting. I know how tempting it is to just hit the ask right now. But we're 5 minutes out. As this bar rolls over, that's bar 53 rolling over into bar 54. Officially 5 minutes out from the FOMC Fed interest rate decision. By the way, that NVIDIA pop's slowing here. You can see the tape there on NVIDIA has slowed down relatively substantially, hanging out here in the mid to high 207s. Minute 55 out from the FOMC Fed interest rate decision. Okay. Question, would you ever put buy orders for breakouts on news like this? I'm not a fan of doing so because a lot of times if you get something unexpected, we get a huge move one way or the other, it very quickly can revert. And a lot of times what you'll get is a fill and a very quick stop out. All right, we got about a minute out here until the Fed FOMC interest rate decision. 99.6% probability that they do nothing, that they will leave rates unchanged. We'll see what they decide. If they do something unexpected, the market's going to lose its mind. Here we go. Let's see what we get. No change, no change. They're leaving interest rates at 3.75%. The Fed will make no change as expected. NQ dumping off immediately on the news, about 100 points plus. We'll see if that instantly reverts or what we end up getting here. The big question is, can NQ hold lower now? You already see those bulls wicking it back up into the sideways trading range. Now we gotta watch and see how NQ continues to react, if it does relax after the news. Fed's median view, by the way, for the rate at the end of 2026 has risen to 3.8%. That is not tremendous here. Market's not going to like that. Median projections for longer run Fed funds rate remaining at 3.1%. So we're getting a slight increase in the expectation for what the Fed interest rates will be here at the end of 2026. Market initially not taking that very well. Down about 140 points on the news. Policymakers, the expected GDP growth is down for this year from 2.4% to 2.2%. Slight decrease in expected GDP growth from policymakers. Again, that's from 2.4% down to 2.2%. Remember the 2% inflation target that the Fed wants to see? Remaining unchanged, we still don't think we're going to get it until 2028. Half of FOMC participants, that's 9 out of 18 FOMC participants, are penciling in a rate hike in 2026. You now think we now have half the Fed thinking we're going to hike rates still this year. Market doesn't like this, guys. We have the Fed moving more hawkish. Again, not overwhelmingly so. This isn't some ridiculous, crazy change, but the market likes doves, and the Fed is not giving that us that today. Bit of a hawkish tilt here out of the Fed between 2026 this year into 2028. Bit of a hawkish tilt, a little bit more than we were expecting here. Market's not liking this, guys. Bit of a hawkish shift. NQ down 230 points here since the news plus. We got 20 seconds out here until the news bar rolls over. Again, this is a 5-minute bar. So it's been about 5 minutes since the initial news dropped. Traders have now, this is coming in just right now. Traders are now fully pricing in a quarter-point Fed rate hike by the year end, agreeing with 9 out of 18 contributors here in FOMC. We've got half of the FOMC committee here pricing in, or I should say wanting a rate hike by the end of 2026. Traders are now fully pricing that in, believing the Fed's hawkish tilt here today. As this bar rolls over 55 into 56, we're getting more downside here. Market down into the mid 30,100s, testing 30,100 now on NQ, coming down to that region, 20 points out, 15 points out. There you go, NQ futures now down through 30,100. Man, 30,000 might be on the agenda here. Let's see what we got. Again, market doesn't like hawks, guys. Market wants doves, no matter what you think of inflation. All right, NQ hanging out here around 30,100. We'll see if we can get a test of 30,000. Bull's trying to step in, wicking that guy back. By the way, over here in stocks, Nvidia down a couple of points. SpaceX, not incredibly affected, down about 5 points. There's AMD. Tesla. Let's head back to the NQ futures here. Traders stepping in ahead of 30,050. By the way, here's a look at the full day. Look at this. Again, hey, market's not liking this, guys. Hawkish tilt. Could be worse. Certainly could be worse. 25 basis point hike by the end of 2026. Well, that's not the end of the world. Traders didn't want hikes at all. We want cuts. Well, the market, I should say, when I say we. The market wants cuts, man, regardless of what you think of inflation. The market always is going to want cuts. Unless you're in a dire inflation situation. Which the market doesn't currently assess clearly our current situation as that. All right, we're about 2 minutes out here to the rollover of 56 into the new bar 57. Again, you're looking at NASDAQ futures right now. This is NQ. Bulls stepping in, holding up a 30,000 test. Back up through 30,200. Let's see. Let's see if this is temporary or if the Bulls can sustain this. Getting a couple of comments here. JP Morgan's head of global fixed income saying nobody, no one on FOMC thinks inflation will be transitory. Fed getting the U.S. ready for rate hikes here. Yeah, again, now half of FOMC is now looking for a rate hike in 2026. Traders took that literally and are now fully pricing in a 25 basis point rate hike by the end of this year. Fully priced in now by traders. NASDAQ back up to 30,250, sustaining this bounce. Nvidia also trying to sustain its bounce here, basically just following what NASDAQ is doing here. Back to NQ futures here. SpaceX retesting volume weighted average price right now, right around 197. Back to NQ. NASDAQ here having some trouble in the mid 30,250s. Well, I guess the mid 200s in general. Sitting as basically a doji here, 2 minutes into bar 57 on the day. So again, if you're just joining us here, no change out of the Fed, but certainly a noticeable hawkish tilt out of the Fed, which the market does not like. Catching a bit of a bid here, bouncing a hair. Sometimes the market just needs to digest something, but traders are now fully pricing in at least a 25 basis point hike by the end of 2026 here in interest rates. Now, you gotta understand that volatility like this, when you get that sort of volatility, what a lot of traders do is they begin trading expecting that same volatility to maintain. It's unlikely to do so. Okay, so you want to kind of get back to normal as soon as possible. Now, we could certainly, of course, see more unexpected comments that might contribute to more volatility, but the headline is now out of the way. No change in interest rates out of the Fed as expected. 99.6% probability they were not going to change anything. The more important thing is, what's their tone like? Their tonality has certainly taken a more hawkish approach. Market likes doves. That's not what we got here today. Well, I'll tell you guys what, man. Hey, I appreciate you joining the show here today for FOMC. I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Quick update. S&P sitting down 0.52%. NASDAQ down 0.13%. Oil down 0.36%. Gold down 1.1%. We'll see how this guy closes up here today. NASDAQ futures. And I will see you guys back at it tomorrow morning. All right. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining. Subscribe to the channel. I'll see you for tomorrow's show. Have a good one.